The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain and read by Ngamoko Nikora. Part 4, Chapter 16, A Night Surprise. The boys played in the water and on the shore, but the next day Joe was very sad. Would he ever be happy again? It did not seem possible. Huck also was sad. Tom was not happy, but he tried to seem happy. He had something interesting to tell them, but he was not yet ready to speak. However, if they did not feel better soon, he would be forced to tell it. He said, trying to seem happy, "I think there have been pirates on this island before. How would you like to find an old box full of money? We should go and hunt for it." But the other boys were not interested. Joe said, "Boys, I want to go home. It is very lonely here." "Oh no, Joe, you will feel better soon," said Tom. "Think of the good fishing here." "I am not interested in fishing. I want to go home." "But Joe, this is the best swimming place." "I do not want to swim. I want to go home." "Baby, you want to see your mother." "Yes, I do want to see my mother, and you would want to see your mother if you had a mother. I am not a baby." "But you like it here, Huck. You want to stay. You and I will stay." Huck said, "Yes." He did not seem very sure. "Let Joe go if he wants to go," Tom said. "We do not need him." Joe began to walk into the water to start swimming toward the shore where the village was. Tom looked at Huck. Huck looked away. Then Huck said, "I want to go, Tom." "We can go, Tom, can't we?" "I won't. You can go, but I'm going to stay." Huck started to walk sadly away. Tom felt a strong desire to follow. He hoped that they would stop, but they went slowly forward. Suddenly, Tom knew that it had become very lonely and quiet. He ran after the other boys, shouting, "Wait! Wait! I want to tell you something." They stopped and turned, and he began walking into the water toward them. They listened to him without an answering word or smile. But after a while they began to understand. Then they shouted with joy. They said that he should have told them his plans sooner. That night, after eating, Tom wanted to learn to smoke. Joe wanted to try also. With Huck's help, they began. Tom said, "This is easy. I could have learned long ago." "This is nothing," said Joe. "I could smoke all day. I do not feel sick." Tom said, "I wish that the other boys could see us now. Listen, we won't tell them, and sometime when they are with us, I will say, 'Joe, I want to smoke.' And you will say, 'My tobacco is not very good.' And I will say, 'It does not need to be good if it is strong enough.' And then we will both start smoking and surprise them." "That will be good, Tom. I wish we could do it now. And we will tell them that we learned to smoke when we were pirates, and they will wish that they had been here." The talk continued, but after a little time there was less talk. Joe said, "I have lost my knife. I'm going to find it." Tom said, "Let me help you. You go that way and I'll go this way." "No, do not come, Huck. We can find it." Huck sat down again and waited an hour. Then he was lonely, and he went to find his friends. Both were very white, both were asleep, but he knew that what had troubled them was now gone. That night they did not talk much. When Huck began to smoke, they said no, that something they had eaten made them feel a little sick. In the middle of the night, Joe opened his eyes and called to the other boys. There was a strange heaviness in the air, and it made them all afraid. The night was very hot, but they moved near to each other and near to the fire. Sitting like that, they waited. A sudden light filled the sky. It turned night into day, and then it was gone. A fearful noise rolled across the sky and slowly ended far away. A breath of cold wind passed. The sudden light appeared and went away again, and the noise that followed came sooner and was more fearful each time. A little rain began to fall. "Quick, boys! Run for cover!" Tom shouted. They jumped up and ran, each toward a different place. A strong wind rushed through the trees. The bright light appeared and went away, appeared and went away again. The fearful noise seemed never to stop, and now a heavy rain came down and ran in streams over the ground. The boys shouted, but their voices were lost in the storm. After some time they came to the place where the old sail was and pulled it over them. It was a wild night for these boys. The wind caught the old sail and carried it away. Trees fell. The storm increased until they feared that it might carry the island away. But the storm grew weaker and weaker, and peace returned. The boys found that their fire was not quite dead. They put more wood on it, making it burn brightly again. They found some of their meat and cooked it. Then they sat by their fire until morning, talking of the night's adventure, because there was no dry place for them to sleep. When the sun began to shine, they rested in its warm light near the shore. There they remained, sleeping, until the sun became too hot. They had something to eat again. The desire for home was now strong in all of them. Tom tried to find a new game to interest them. He found one. They were not pirates now. They were Indians and had many fierce battles. However, when the day ended, they smoked together, as Indians always did, to show that they were at peace. And two of them learned joyfully that now they could smoke a little tobacco without being sick. Chapter 17. The success of Tom's plan. But there was no joy in the little town that same afternoon. The village was more quiet than usual. The people had little to say to each other. The children had no pleasure in their games. Becky Thatcher was walking near the school. She thought, "Oh, I wish I had not returned to Tom that bright, shining ball he gave me. I have nothing to help me remember him. He is gone now, and I shall never, ever see him again." She walked away, with tears rolling down her face. Then a large group of boys and girls, friends of Tom and Joe, came to the school and stood looking over the fence into the yard where they had played together. They spoke of things Tom and Joe had said, and of things Tom and Joe had done. They tried to learn who was the last to see the two boys. The children who were the last to talk with Tom and Joe felt very important indeed. One boy, who also wished to feel important, said, "I had a fight with Tom Sawyer, and he was stronger than I was. But most of the boys could say that. The next morning, the church bell did not stop as it usually did after calling the people to church. It continued to ring. The people from the village gathered. Outside the church, they talked. But in the church, all was very quiet. The little church was filled with people. After a long time, Aunt Polly entered, followed by Sid and Mary, and by the Harper family. All were wearing black clothes. The other people in the church stood up. They remained standing while the two families walked to the front of the church and sat down. It was quiet again. All prayed, and then a song followed. Now the church leader began to talk of the boys. He told how good they had been. People were sorry to remember that they had not seen the truth earlier when they had thought that these boys were bad. Tears were falling from all eyes. The sound of the church door opening slowly was heard. One pair of eyes, then another, turned to look. Then all in the church seemed to turn at the same time, and people rose and watched while the three dead boys walked to the front of the church. Tom was first, Joe next, and last came Huck. They had been listening to every word. Aunt Polly, Mary, and the Harpers put their arms around Tom and Joe. Huck stood alone, not knowing what to do. He started to move away, but Tom stopped him and said, "Aunt Polly, this is not right. Some person must be glad to see Huck." "And some person shall be. I am glad to see him, dear boy." She put her arms around him also. And now Huck felt more strange than before. "Sing, and sing your best," cried the church leader. And all the people did sing. There had never been such singing in that church. Tom Sawyer, the pirate, knew that no moment in his life could be prouder than this. Chapter 18. Tom's Wonderful Dream. That was Tom's great plan, to return home with the other pirates and go to the church to hear pray for their souls. They had returned across the river in the darkness the night before and had stayed in the forest until nearly daylight. They had entered the church and finished their sleep there before the people came. Then they appeared at the most important moment. The next morning, Aunt Polly and Mary were very loving toward Tom. He had everything that he wanted to eat. There was much more talk than usual, and Polly spoke. "We can laugh now, Tom, but you were not very kind to let me suffer. You came across the river to surprise us in the church. Why could you not come across the river to tell me that you were not really dead?" "Yes, you could have done that, Tom," said Mary. "I believe yet you would have done it if you had thought of it." "Would you, Tom?" said Aunt Polly. Her face was brighter at this thought. "Would you, if you had thought of it? I hope that you love me enough to do it. Did you think of it?" "Tom is always rushing," Mary said. "He never thinks." "Sid would have thought of it, and Sid would have come, Tom. Now, you will be sorry, Tom. You will wish that you had cared more for me, but then it will be too late." "I do care for you," said Tom. "I wish that I had thought, but I dreamed about you." "A cat does as much as that. What did you dream?" "I dreamed that I saw you sitting there by the bed. Sid and Mary were sitting with you, and I dreamed that Joe Harper's mother was here." "Indeed she was, one night." "Did you dream any more?" "Yes, but I can't remember all of it." "Try, Tom. Try to remember." "Well, You said that the door must be open because you could feel the wind coming in. You said that was strange. And you told Sid. What did I tell Sid, Tom? You told him. Oh, you told him to close the door, and you were talking about me. I remember better now. You said that I was not bad. You said I was only wild and full of life, like any other young animal. I never heard anything like this in all my life, and some people say that dreams are never true. Tell me more, Tom. And then you began to weep. Yes, I did. Then Mrs. Harper began to weep. She said that Joe was good also, and then you told about giving the painkiller to the cat. And then there was a lot of talk about finding our bodies and about praying in the church on Sunday. It is all true. And Mrs. Harper went home, and you prayed for us, and I could see you and hear every word. And you went to bed, and I was very sorry for you, and I had a letter for you. It was on a piece of wood. On the wood were the words, "We are not dead. We are away being pirates." I kissed you on the lips and went away again. Did you, Tom? Did you? She took him in her arms. It was very kind, but it was only a dream, said Sid. Be quiet, Sid. And Tom, here is a big apple for you. And now, you children go to school. Tom walked slowly and proudly, feeling that all eyes were watching him. Smaller boys followed him, proud to be seen with him. Boys of his own size tried not to show that they knew he had been away. But they did know. They wished that they had sun-brown skin like his. They wished that they were as famous. Tom decided that he no longer was interested in Becky Thatcher. Being famous was enough pleasure for him. When Becky arrived at school, Tom seemed not to notice her, but he saw her playing with other boys and girls. He saw that she often came near him and looked at him, and he began talking to Amy Lawrence. Becky tried to go away from him, but her feet would not do as she wished. They carried her near to the group around Tom. She said to one of the girls, Mary, where were you yesterday? I wanted to tell you about the picnic. Oh, whose picnic? My mother is going to let me have one. I hope that she will let me come. It will be my picnic, and I may ask those that I want. I want you and all my friends to come. She looked at Tom, but he was talking to Amy Lawrence. Now the others in the group began asking if they could go to the picnic. Soon all had been asked except Tom and Amy. Tom turned away. Becky's legs were shaking and tears came to her eyes. She would not let the others see her sadness. She went away alone to think of what to do. When Tom saw her again, she and a boy named Alfred Temple were sitting together looking at a book. Now Tom suddenly wanted to stop talking to Amy. He escaped from her and went to look again at Becky and Alfred Temple. And Becky seemed not to see Tom, but she saw him, and she saw that he was suffering, and she was glad. Then Alfred Temple, Tom thought, Alfred Temple in his fine clothes. I will catch you, I will take you, and he began hitting the air as if fighting with the other boy. At noon, Tom went home. Becky again looked at the book with Alfred, hoping that Tom would see them, but Tom did not appear. Suddenly she began to weep. She left Alfred and walked away. Alfred followed, hoping to find some way to make her happy again. But she said, "Go away! I never want to see you again." Alfred was quick to understand. Becky had been trying to make Tom suffer. Alfred went into the school. He saw one of Tom's books, and he thought how he could hurt Tom. He opened the book to the page they were to study that afternoon. He destroyed the page in a manner that would make it seem that Tom had done it. Becky, looking in the window, saw him do it. She thought of telling Tom. Then she decided that she would not. She would let the school teacher beat Tom for what had happened to his book. Chapter 19. Tom tells the truth. Tom arrived at home feeling very sad, and his aunt's first words made him feel no better. "Tom, I ought to beat you." "Aunt Polly, what have I done?" "I went to see Mrs. Harper to tell her about your dream. Joe had already told her that you were here that night. Tom, I do not know what to think of a boy like you. I believed your story of your dream. I expected her to believe it. Why did you let me be such a fool?" "Aunt Polly, I wish I had not done it. I did not think." "Oh, child, you never think. You never think of anything but yourself. You could think enough to come here and laugh at our troubles. You could think to tell that story of a dream. You could not think to save us from suffering." "Aunt Polly, I know that it was bad, but I did not plan to be bad. And I did not come here that night to laugh at you. I came to tell you that we were not drowned. I did not want you to be sad." "Tom, I would be thankful to believe that, but I doubt that you had such a thought." "Yes, I did. It is the truth. I wanted to save you from being sad." "Then why did you not tell me, child?" "You began talking of Sunday and all the people praying for us in the church, and I began thinking about going there on Sunday, and I put my letter in my pocket and went away." "What letter?" "The letter to tell you that we were pirates. I wish now that you had opened your eyes when I kissed you." "Did you kiss me, Tom? Are you sure?" "Yes, I did, Aunt." "Why did you kiss me?" "Because I loved you, and you were weeping in your sleep, and I was sorry." The words sounded like the truth. The old lady said, "Kiss me again, Tom, and then go to school." When he was gone, she looked at his little coat. In the pocket she found his piece of wood with the writing on it. She read the words with tears falling from her eyes. Then she said, "Now I could forget anything bad that boy does. I could forget 1,000,000 bad things." Chapter 20. Becky has a problem. Tom was happy again. He started walking to school and soon saw Becky Thatcher, also going toward the school. Quickly, he ran to her and said, "I am sorry I acted as I did this morning, Becky. I won't ever be like that again. Please, let us be friends." The girl stopped and looked into his face. "Go away, Mr. Thomas Sawyer. I will never speak to you again." Then she started walking again. Tom was so surprised that he could think of nothing to say, and he was filled with anger. If she were a boy, he knew that he would fight her. Becky was also full of anger. She was thinking of the pleasure of watching the teacher beat Tom for destroying a book. She did not know that she would soon have trouble also. The teacher had a book that he was studying. Every day he would read some pages when he was not busy. Every boy and girl in the school wondered about this book, but none had ever seen its pages. Now, as Becky passed the teacher's table, she saw the book. She opened it and began to look at it. Then Tom appeared at the door. Becky hurried to close the book. Her hand caught the page, and suddenly it was in two pieces. Becky began to weep. "You are bad, Tom Sawyer, to come and watch me, and now you will tell the teacher, and he will beat me. And what shall I do? I have never been beaten in school, but I know what is going to happen to you. You wait, and you will see." Then, weeping, she ran outside. Tom said to himself, "What a fool a girl is! What is a beating in school? That is nothing. And I will not tell who opened the book. The teacher will ask who did it. He will call each name, and when he says the right one, he won't need an answer. He will see the answer in her face." School began, and soon Tom's book was discovered. He said that he had not destroyed the page, but the teacher did not believe him. Tom had his beating. Becky watched, trying to feel happy about this, but she almost stood up to tell the truth about Alfred Temple. An hour passed. The boys and girls were all busy with their books. The teacher opened his book. Tom looked at Becky. He had seen small and hunted animals in the forest. Now Becky seemed like one of them. He wished that he could help her, but what could he do? The next moment the teacher stood before the school. Every eye turned away from his. All the boys and girls were afraid of him. He spoke. "Who did this to my book?" There was not a sound. "Benjamin Rogers?" "No." "Joe Harper?" "No." "Amy Lawrence?" "No." "Gracie Miller?" "No." The next name was Becky Thatcher. Tom was shaking from head to foot. He saw her face white with fear. "Rebecca Thatcher, look at me. Did you do this to my book?" Tom jumped to his feet and shouted, "I did it!" All looked at him. They could not believe what they had heard. This was madness. Tom stepped forward to take his beating. The surprise, the thankfulness, the love shining from Becky's eyes seemed pay enough for 100 beatings. Chapter 21. Old Muff's Friend. Summer had come. For several months there would be no school. Tom discovered that the days were too long. He did not have enough to do. He decided to make a record of everything that happened. But nothing happened during 3 days. He decided that a record would be of no value. Becky Thatcher had gone away. During the summer, she was living in another town with her father and her mother. The thought of the fearful killing in the graveyard was always in Tom's mind. It was like a pain. It would not go away. Then Tom became sick. For 2 long weeks, Tom remained in bed without knowing what was happening in the village. He was very ill. He was interested in nothing. Then he seemed to be better. But after a day, he was ill again. He was in bed for 3 more weeks. In the warm, sleepy village, something began to happen. A judge was coming to listen to the story of the killing in the graveyard. He would decide what to do about Muff Potter. Every person in the village talked of this. Tom could not escape from it. Every word made his heart beat faster. He was always afraid when people talked to him about it. He took Huck to a lonely place. He wanted to be sure that Huck had not told the story. "Huck, have you told about that?" "About what?" "You know what." "Oh no, I have not. Never a word." "Never a word? Why do you ask?" "I was afraid." "Tom Sawyer, we would not live 2 days if that story was told. You know that." "Huck, could any person make you tell?" "If I wanted that Indian Joe to drown me, they could make me tell." "Good. I think we are safe if we do not talk. But we should make another agreement. It will be more sure." They made an agreement as before, signed in blood. "What is the talk that you hear, Huck?" "Talk? It is all Muff Potter. Muff Potter, Muff Potter. It makes me want to go where no one can see me." "I hear the same talk. They are going to hang him. Do you feel sorry for him sometimes?" Almost always. He has never done anything to hurt any person. He only fishes to get some money so that he can get drunk. He is really good. Once he gave me a fish when he really did not have enough for himself, and he helped me at other times when I needed help. He helped me also, Huck. He helped me to catch fish. I wish that I could get him out of jail." "We can't get him out, Tom, and if we did, they would catch him again." "Yes, but I do not like to hear what they say, for he never did it." "I do not like it, Tom." The boys talked for a long time, but it did not make them happy. As night came, they were near the little jail. Perhaps they hoped that something good might happen, but nothing happened. They went to the window and gave Potter some tobacco. They had done this before. He was always very thankful for their gifts, and his thanks always hurt them. This time the hurt went deeper when Potter said, "You have been good to me, boys, better than the others in this town, and I won't forget it. I won't. Often I say to myself, I was good to all the boys. I showed them where the good fishing was. I was their friend when I could be a friend, and now they forget old Muff and his trouble. But Tom does not forget, and Huck does not. They do not forget him, I say, and I won't forget them. But boys, I did a fearful thing. I was drunk. That is the only way that I can explain it. Now I must hang for it, and that is right. It is best also. I hope that it is, but we won't talk about that. I won't make you feel sad. You have been my friends. But what I want to say is this: never get drunk. Then you won't ever be where I am now. Stand where I can see you. It is a pleasure to see friendly faces where a man is in trouble like this. You are the only ones who come here. Good, friendly faces. Good, friendly faces. Stand on each other's shoulders and let me touch your faces. Good. Let me touch your hands also. Little hands and weak, but they have helped Muff Potter, and they would help him more if they could. Tom went home feeling very, very sad. His dreams that night were full of fearful things. During the next 2 days he went to the town meeting house. The judge was there, listening to the story of the killing. Tom wished to go into the meeting house to hear what was happening, but he forced himself to stay outside. Huck was having the same experience. They were careful not to meet each other. They would go away from the meeting house, but soon they would return. Tom listened when people came out. The news was always bad. At the end of the second day, people said that Indian Joe's story never changed. There was no doubt what the judge would decide. Tom was out late that night and he entered the house through the window. He could not sleep for several hours. All the people in the village went to the meeting house the next morning. This was to be the important day. Potter, who appeared to have no hope, was brought in. All eyes were turned to him, and Indian Joe was there too. Then the judge arrived. Now a man was asked to tell what he knew about the killing. He said that he had found Muff Potter washing his hands in a stream. It was very early on the morning after the killing. Another man was asked to tell his story. He told about finding the knife near the doctor's body. Then a second man spoke about the knife. He knew that it belonged to Potter. A man who had studied law sat beside Muff Potter. He was there to help Potter, but he asked no questions as these men told their stories. It seemed strange. Was he not trying to prove that Potter had not killed the doctor? More men told their stories, and the man beside Potter asked them no questions. After a while, all the stories against Potter had been told. Then the man beside Potter stood up. He spoke to the judge. "Your Honour, we plan to prove that Muff Potter was drunk that night. We plan to prove that he did not know what he was doing. But we have changed our plans. We wish to ask Thomas Sawyer some questions." Surprise appeared on every face, including Potter's. Every eye was watching Tom. He stood up and walked forward. He looked very wild because he was deeply afraid. The questions began. "Thomas Sawyer, where were you on the night of the killing at about the hour of 12? Tom looked at Indian Joe and he could not speak. The people listened, but the words did not come. After a few moments, however, the boy had more strength. Some of the people could hear as he said, "In the graveyard." "Louder, please. Do not be afraid. You were in the graveyard." A cold smile appeared on Indian Joe's face. Then it was gone. "Were you near Hoss Williams's grave?" "Yes." "Louder, please. How near were you?" "As near as I am to you." "Could you be seen?" "No, I was behind the trees at the edge of the grave." "Was another person with you?" "Yes, I went there with—" "That is enough. We will call him when we need him. Did you carry something there?" Tom did not answer. "Speak, my boy. The truth is always honourable. What did you carry there?" "Only a dead cat." There was a little laughter. The judge ordered it to stop. "We plan to show the bones of that cat. Now, my boy, tell us everything that happened. Tell it as you wish, but tell it all, and do not be afraid." Tom began slowly. Then his words came out more and more easily. Every eye looked at him with open lips. The people listened to his words, forgetting everything but his story. Now he came to the end. Interest became greater and greater. And as the doctor hit Muff Potter with the board and Muff Potter fell, Indian Joe jumped with a knife and Indian Joe jumped toward the window, striking all who tried to hold him. In a minute, he was gone. End of part 4.